Hi, I'm Evelyn Tribole, and welcome to day 7 of the Intuitive Eating series. And today I'm unpacking the principle of coping with your emotions with kindness. And boy, do we need more kindness in the world, kindness to ourselves, kindness to others. And before I start doing a deeper dive into this, I want you to consider some possibilities. I cannot tell you how many clients I've worked with that have labeled themselves as an emotional eater when actually what was going on with their eating was a direct consequence from diet culture food restriction practices. It was a direct consequence from biological and psychological restriction. And it's amazing what can end up happening when you consistently nourish your body, when you consistently nourish your hunger. And I've had people really, really surprised what they thought was emotional eating was actually a direct consequence. So that's number one. Number two, we need to recognize that emotion and celebration, which is part of all of this, is part of eating. It's a normal part of eating. If you think about many cultures, many traditions in which food ushers in a new life stage, a new significant passage, or a celebration of some sort, this is normal. Third thing I want to mention is when we start talking about emotional eating, and some of you have had histories with that, sometimes it's really, or the only time sometimes, it's the only thing you can do to take care of yourself in that moment or with that situation. It was the best that you can do. When we start adding shame on top of the already emotional hurt that's going on, it's usually hurt, not always, but sometimes, there's more to unpack. Shaming people into recovery, even shaming people onto this path is not helpful. So I want to really emphasize that. And then as we start really starting to look at emotions, there's a couple of questions that I find are so helpful. It's kind of like riding a bike, these two wheels, and then we're pedaling with the questions. And I'm going to tell you what those two questions are in just a moment, but I want to really set this up on how important it is in terms of how you talk to yourself. I cannot tell you the amount of nasty I've had patients describe to themselves, their own language. Those are their descriptions. It's really hard to want to look in and get curious about your thought patterns if you're really hard on yourself. And so I would be looking at, how would you talk to a loved one, a dear friend, one of your kids, or even a puppy dog, one of your pets? I have had people talk in ways they would never speak to even their pet or loved ones, and so on. So having this non-judgmental curiosity is so helpful. Not easy if you've been used to really talking in ways that are not kind to yourself. It really helps it a lot. Even just starting with neutrality. It doesn't have to be kind, just neutral. Oh, this is interesting. This is interesting. So here's some of the questions. The two questions I use a lot. What am I feeling right now? Now, that sounds like a straightforward question. It actually is, but the answer can be really difficult because the truth is, if you knew what you're feeling, that would be helpful. But I have a lot of people that are really not in touch with that. And so sometimes I might suggest trying to unpack it just with the qualities of the feelings in terms of, am I feeling pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral right now? That kind of helps that a bit, or just to even acknowledge I'm having some type of emotion that feels unsettling, even if you can't quite name it. I don't want you to think that you have to dial in every emotion to be able to do this. Then when you have a sense of that, the next question would be, what do I need right now that relates to this feeling that I'm having? And the truth is, if that was just boom, so easy like that, it would be so straightforward. Most people are not in touch with what it is they might need, and sometimes we have needs that in the moment can't be get. Would it be nice, for example, to have certainty in the world? And so what we have right now is a lot of collective anxiety. And sometimes what we need is to have a break from feeling these feelings 24/7. There's nothing wrong with that. And then what we need to start looking at is, what kind of distraction could I engage in? And yes, I did say that. What kind of distraction could I engage in that's going to not make me feel worse when I finish, whatever that happens to be? And so looking at those types of aspects. So this is a big question I'm asking you to look at. And if right now you've got way too much going on and you don't feel ready or able to do this, that's fine. I haven't said this, but with the principles of intuitive eating, when you write a book, you go in order. But the truth is, in real life, I'm matching the principle to where somebody is at. And that includes delaying principles. So if this is too much, no worries. Come back to this when you feel ready. Or maybe even just a little baby step would be thinking about the times when you've had emotional connection with food in a pleasant way. That might be kind of nice to do. Or just start maybe even asking the universal attunement question. How do I feel right now? Pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? I'm not asking about what emotion are you feeling. I'm not asking about the intensity. I'm not asking are you hungry or full, but just generally universally, how do I feel right now? Pleasant or neutral? And I actually start that question with a lot of my patients on this path. And remember, this is not a race. This takes people different amounts of time depending on your history and what's been going on in your life and what's going on in your life right now. So I'm so thrilled that you're here. Can't wait to read your comments. Thank you.